All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in our Abuja studio for the live coverage of the off-cycle election happening in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa states, where we have our correspondents scattered across, bringing us up to speed with the developments out of there. We've been getting reports since morning when we opened the studio, and we have been seeing key contestants actually go cast their ballots. We have also seen a number of persons, electorates, go out to also cast their votes. INEC kept their promises to ensure that they were out in time for voters to be able to register and do the needful. And we have seen also the presence of security personnel ensuring to keep the peace across these states. Right now, we will be looking closer at the various states, talking about Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa, the numbers coming out of these states. And we will begin with the Bayelsa states, talking about the number of registered voters. Over 1,556,862 persons were said to have registered. Those are the records that INEC gave. And INEC also went ahead to say that about 1,017,613 persons collected their PVCs. Now, we have about 39,249 persons that didn't collect their PVCs. But let's take a closer look at how these numbers are recorded across the senatorial districts. Now, if you look at Ekeremo, for instance, well, let's first go to the political parties. We have about 16 political parties there and 16 governorship candidates, 14 male candidates and about 2 female candidates. And this has been a concern about the number of females that participated in this off-cycle election as against what we recorded in 2019, where we had, I think, about 10 females, in the election. But for persons with disabilities, no record of that number. And they have also been talking about inclusiveness in our electoral processes, and we hope to see that in the coming days. But earlier I was trying to take a closer look at the representation of these numbers across the various senatorial districts. And in Ekeremo, the records say we have about 258 polling units, and that's about 11.50% of polling units. Bayelsa East in total has about 701 polling units, representing 31.24% of the polling units there. And Bayelsa Central total for polling units, there is about 1,041 polling units, representing 46.39%. And for Bayelsa West total, we have about 502 polling units. For registered voters, we have about 276,057 persons, and PVCs collected from Bayelsa West total, we have about 263,550, making 25.9%. All right, let's quickly move to Imo State now. Now, for the registered voters, there is an increase in number as against what we recorded in Bayelsa State. Here we have 2,419,922 registered voters. And the number of collected PVCs, 2,419,922. For uncollected PVCs, 101,003. Those are the numbers of uncollected PVCs. And let's take a breakdown of the number of political parties. 17 political parties, 17 governorship candidates, 17 male candidates, 0 female candidates recorded in each state, and 1 person with disabilities made an attempt to perhaps gone for the governorship seat in that state. We move now to Kogi State. And for the registered voters, we have 1,932,654. And for collected PVCs, we have 1,833,000. parties. This is coming closely beside Imo State, 99,494. So let's take a breakdown of the number of political parties. There we have 18 political parties, 18 governorship candidates, 17 male candidates, 1 female candidate. For the other two states, talking about Imo and Bayelsa, we see that the incumbents are also contesting in this election. Kogi State is the only state where the incumbent is not part of the process. So we will be taking a closer look and perhaps getting information from our correspondents across the states with regards to how people are turning out. But then let's still take a closer look at Kogi State, the local government. We have Adavi, Ajokuta, Ankpa, Basa, Dekina, Ibaji, Ida, Igalamela Odolu, Ijumu, Kababunu, Kogi, Lokoja, the state capital, Mopamoro, Ofu, Ogorimagongo, Okehi, Okene, Olamaboro, Omala, Yagba West, Yagba East. These are the local governments in the Kogi State. And earlier on, there was reports about some results being missing, and INEC has also responded to that in Okene, Davi local government, and one other Okehi local government earlier on. I will be following developments with regards to that. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll be speaking with our guest in the studio. Stay with us.
Let me congratulate the three states having elections today: Bayelsa State, Imo State, and Kogi State, and which all these states successful elections, peaceful conduct of elections. But basically, because this is an off-season election, and I get worried about the issue of off-season elections, and I will use this unique opportunity to plead with the National Assembly that we need to block this off-season election. It's very odd. It's not a global best practice. A country can elect their people at different times, like America and some countries. They will not elect everybody at the same time. But any time they go on to conduct the election, they elect everybody that's supposed to be elected. If we continue with this trend of off-season elections, based on the interpretation of our laws by the judicial officer, it will come to a time that the presidential election in Nigeria may be off-season. Probably that's the time that all of you media people and others should be worried. Look at the American system. Everybody knows when the American elections will be conducted. That's standard practice in other countries. And when I say presidential election in Nigeria may be off-season one day, some people may say, why, how? It almost happened in 2007. I contested as a running mate to late President Yaradua. You know that election, the 7 justices that presided over the case, 3 of them, in their own judgment that elections be annulled, 4 of them sustained the election. And that is why we state, if one has crossed over, by now the presidential election in Nigeria will have been off-season election. And it is not the best for a country. And there's easy things to do to make sure that other states, now we have 7 states that are off-season. We need to stop there. And where possible, these 7 states too can be migrated back to fall in line with the other states, and the National Assembly can do that. That is my message for the National Assembly, my message for Nigerians today. On the other hand, I wish the elections successful. I've been monitoring what is happening in Bayelsa State. I almost ask people across the local governments, and for now, no major things that will get worried, apart from the part of Nembe local government, the Basambri part of Nembe local government that have been in conflict for quite some time before the election. Apart from that, I think the elections are going on well, but we cannot conclude until the end of the voting period. So once again, I thank you and I wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
The mic.
Well.
All right, former President Goodluck Jonathan there speaking about the election. He commended INEC and then also talked about the off-cycle election, hoping that in the nearest future, these states will be returned to join the normal cycle of elections that we witness in the country. We have our correspondent, Sarah Ayeku, standing by now to bring us up to speed with developments from Bayelsa. Sarah, what's happening at this point?
So it's been a very busy day with a flurry of activities happening across the 8 local government areas of the state. And so what we see right now is that voting is still ongoing. It's pretty sunny as against what we saw this morning. It was chilly this morning. It was hazy. There was just a fog around the town this morning. But this is Yenagoa, the state capital, and I'm one of the wards, and it's very sunny and hot. But we still see that a lot of voters are still at the various polling units around this area. This is the heart of Yenagoa, and from what you see the voters. Some of them are voted, but they are still standing to ensure that their votes are counted. That's at 2:30 p.m. when voting will stop. And so from what we've heard so far from some of the voters, they have commended INEC for the process, having the fact that they can do accreditation and also vote at the same time. Although at some polling units across the city center, voting started at about 9 a.m. As against the 8:30 a.m. mark given by INEC officials during the briefing pre-election day. And so what we see now is that election is still ongoing at most of the polling units. We're waiting for 2:30 to end this process. But I have with me Mr. Sylvester Okodua. He's an election observer from Transition Monitoring Group. He's going to give us his own assessment of the election, considering he has heard reports from 8 local governments apart from Yenagoa. That's 7 other local governments apart from Yenagoa local government. It's good to have you join us on cycle election. What's your assessment of the process so far?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Ambassador Sylvester Okodua, South Zonal Coordinator, Transition Monitoring Group. I'm here in Yenagoa to monitor this election, and also we deploy 16 local government coordinators in the 8 local government area of the state. I want to commend INEC. There is improvement, especially in the area of deployment of ad hoc staff, and also some of the polling units, voting material arrive early enough, and some arrive a little bit late. And from where I am, also the report from where our observers are deployed, the process is calm and quiet. We have not reported any loss of life or any ballot snatching. But there are some cases where some of the voters, the beavers cannot actually capture their fingerprints. So some of those people were not allowed, and they automatically they are not eligible to vote. But what is glaring, I want INEC and security agents to tackle, is the level of vote buying. There is a well-coordinated vote buying cutting across all the political parties, and this is not done in the secret. And there is a specific amount which people are voting for the higher bidder, and this is against the electoral process. It's against free, fair, and a credible election, and it's against somebody selling his or her conscience, which lead to compromising the process.
So what's your assessment of security so far around the 8 local government areas, knowing that?
And the standard operational procedure of the police, of the security forces in this election is okay. You can go to every polling unit. There are present of different security agencies stationed, ready for any eventuality. But meanwhile, there is high level of peace, quietness, and voters are still voting their candidates of their choice.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for waiting, and we thank you. We appreciate your patience for waiting through this process. To what we've seen in the course of this election. Before today, there's a particular story which involves the abduction of an INEC official, that's a supervisory presiding officer in Sagbama local government area of the state. And what we understand now is that the officials here, particularly I spoke with the National Commissioner, she said that 45 minutes before the woman now, that's the supervisory presiding officer, she has been identified as a woman. 45 minutes before she was abducted, she was still doing a duty here in the state capital before she was abducted at Masoma Jetty. Although the police has said that they have been able to ascertain that one person was involved in the abduction, they're on the trail of that person. They are hoping that they get the person, and then we're able.
Sarah, if you could just quickly hold the thought, we have DouyeDiri Frank Mba standing by he's giving a briefing to reporters. We need to quickly hear that.
And the reports, even from the suburbs, all show that the election has been largely peaceful. We're still monitoring situation, and we're still embarking on more patrols. If I leave here, I'm not returning to the office. We still engage in other patrols. I intend also to engage to conduct an area patrol with the police chopper so that I can have a better view of situation across the entire state. We are cautiously optimistic that with the kind of intelligence-driven deployments we've done, we will not have major issues. But even in spite of the largely peaceful conduct so far, we are not letting down our guards. We expect the best, but we have trained, planned, and prepared for the worst. But so far, we just want to encourage Imolites to continue to support this civic process, continue to conduct themselves in very civil, orderly, and law-abiding manners. For the politicians, that's where we get the bulk of the pressures and the bulk of the problems. We still want to appeal to them that power should be for the service of the people. And if it's truly for the service of the people, they should also consider the interests of the state, the interests of the citizens, and the interests of all of us while making their statements and while conducting themselves in and around the polls today.
Okay, so last one from me. Again, we can look at this from phases. This is the first phase, the voting process underway. By the time we're done with the voting, we would expect that materials of the collation will be done and moved to local government for the collation. So what is the plan to ensure that INEC officials and every other person in this election are secure?
Well, we've done a dry run of the entire process. That's the actual truth. And we have strategies both at the upper and lower levels clearly mapped out. We believe that the same manner as we were able to provide adequate and sufficient security for election materials from the time they arrive at the airport to the time we move them to Central Bank office, to the time we move them to INEC headquarters, and then the downward distribution to the local government areas and to the wards. We'll still go through that same processes while returning those materials back to the collation centers. We have adequate numbers and adequate gadgets from the explosive ordnance department, our bomb disposal squads
have also been properly trained and adequately deployed. And so we will also be deploying the EOD's experts to all those collation centers and making sure that even before the materials begin to arrive, before the INEC officials begin to arrive, before the party agents begin to arrive, we must have done a thorough sweeping of those areas. We are generally positive about the outcome of these elections. We are committed to protecting the democratic space. We are committed to providing a level playing field. We are doing our best. We have challenges on ground, but these are not challenges that are insurmountable.
Earlier, if you could see that some polling units that we had visited this morning, we could see that there's huge low turnout of voters. And the information we had this morning is that some youths had gone around early this morning canvassing the vote, asking people to vote for candidates of a particular party. And of course, we were told that that's probably the reason people are scared to come to the polling unit. What would you like to say?
Elections in our climb are usually characterized by all kind of fake news, deliberate misinformation, deliberate disinformation. So whenever you pick up information or pieces of information around this time, you need to fact check them thoroughly. You need to be sure that what you're saying is correct. So for me, we will investigate those aspects, these claims. But for voters' apathy, if I may use that word, and I'm using it advisedly, there is the best we can do is what we are doing and what we've done, providing sufficient security to guarantee the safety of Imolites as they come out to exercise their franchise. And so one of the major reasons of providing a superb security arrangement for an election for elections in Nigeria is to actually guarantee the electors, the politicians, the observers, INEC officials, journalists like you, and the rest of us that their safety, their lives will be protected as they come out to vote. So we've done our part. We've provided sufficient security. We've provided a level playing field. We have policemen in all the polling units. We have striking forces on patrol. We have quick response units roving around the town and the hinterlands. So we have done what we should do. Probably moving forward, Nigerians will just continue to strengthen our voters' enlightenment and education processes, deepen them, and deal with such issues. But again, looking at the time, you might still not say it is over until it is over. Some voters might be early risers, some might be mid-day risers, while others might be late-day risers. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My hand was...
DIG Frank Mba there speaking about he and his men who have been moving about the state to monitor the security situation so he can have a bird's eye view of the situation there, and also to ensure that they support the democratic process according to him, and that people, the electorates, are safe as they go out to vote. We'll move over now to Kogi State, where we have Ademola Lawrence standing by to bring us up to speed. Ademola, there are reports that of vote buying and some other issues. Talk to us. What do you know about this matter?
Okay, so there have been some sort of vote buying in some polling units. Before I got there, of course, the security agencies were able to disperse some of these people who came along. One of them is at Igaba polling unit 02, where some hoodlums were actually came to the polling unit, and the police were able to disperse them. As a matter of fact, the people rallied round with the security agencies to make sure that those people are actually being whisked away at that particular polling unit. Then the second one, actually also
could you just hold the thoughts? We need to quickly move over to Bayelsa, where one of the candidates, governorship candidates, is speaking with the press.
Yeah. No, yeah, this is, of course, this is my ward. So you expect that everybody is supporting me, and that's why that units in my ward will be targeted and not uploaded, because I'm sure that they believe that if that happened and they disenfranchised in my ward, that it will be good for them. But we've been able to escalate it to INEC, and the problem is being rectified.
Okay, amid all the security reports that you earlier mentioned, what is your call to party members?
No, of course, I have always called on my party members to be peaceful, and they've really conducted themselves very well, and I'm proud of them. So far, so good. Just that the security elements in Yenagoa especially, because we keep getting all the stories from Yenagoa local government. And everything that has been escalated from Yenagoa to the situation room is about security people taking sides with the people. That's what I'm saying, yeah.
So, do you still have confidence in all these allegations of flaws?
Of course, I am confident. We are containing the issues. I mean, I'm just bringing this to your attention. It's not as if we have lost hope in the system at all. I mean, definitely, that's far from it. We believe that in the end, we will still carry the day. I mean, these are all panic measures taken by a failing party. I mean, if they were not failing, they would not be enlisting the support of security to snatch ballot boxes. It is because they are failing. And we believe that in the end, they can't do this everywhere. They are not doing it everywhere. For example, in my ward, they are not able to do that. And of course, you can see everything is peaceful here. And in most other areas, they cannot do that. But in Yenagoa local government, we get all these reports that security people are getting compromised and are really on the side of the PDP.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Timmy Peresiva, one of the governorship candidates in Bayelsa, they're speaking about the peaceful conduct of the election. Let's get back to Demola Lawrence in Kogi State. Demola, you were bringing us up to speed about how the security was able to disperse hoodlums who were, engaged in vote buying.
Yes, so that was in Igalogba polling unit 002, and at another polling unit where I actually just came before I came on the camera. Another vote buying actually happened, but I want the local observer who was actually here to speak to that effect. First, tell me your name, sir.
My name is Tahira Abubakar.
Okay, so tell us what you witnessed here at this polling unit.
I came in here and it was a very rowdy situation, and I tried to see what was happening. A former House of Reps member was trying to buy votes, and the people were protesting against that. But the security agents happened to intervene on time, so it has been brought under control.
So aside from that, before then, was there any issue at all at this particular polling unit, or from what you have observed so far at the different polling units that you went to?
No, there's no issue. The election is peaceful. There's enough security available on ground, so no issue of violence, apart from some issue of vote buying and the people who protest against it. The people are seriously against vote buying. I think that's where the major problem is. So anywhere they notice any personality trying to buy vote, they try to go against the person.
All right, thank you very much. Veronica, I also need to let you understand that at this particular election, one of the things that I've also noticed is that we don't have enough observers, both local, national. As a matter of fact, I've not seen any international observer at this particular election.
All right, Demola, we'll need to put you on hold. We'll cross over quickly to Sarah Ayeku, who is in Bayelsa, to tell us Sarah, INEC said that they were going to ensure an inclusive process, especially for persons with disabilities. What did you observe with regards to that?
So what we've seen so far is that INEC has said that we would not be seeing aid equipment for persons with disability in all of the polling units. So what we're going to see is that in designated polling units, we're going to see aid equipment for persons with disability. And so this is what we're seeing right now. So in this particular polling unit, we've not seen anyone with a disability at this polling unit. So what we just see now is that voting has almost ended at this particular polling unit. Just a few persons are still on the queue. The others that you
All right, let's quickly cross over to Ademola Lawrence. Let me ask you the same question about INEC promising to ensure an all-inclusive process. What did you observe at the polling unit you are?
Part of the story, because when I came to the different polling units that I visited, the people that were given priorities, of course, are people with disabilities and, of course, the elderly ones. And they've been able to do that to an extent because when people queue up, you see them, they put them in batches. The elderly ones, then the people with a disability. So they've been able to keep to that part of the story for them, I mean, the electoral body.
Right. How about when you're talking about gender analysis of those who turned out to vote, what also did you observe?
I must tell you, I think the women have been the one that I've noticed that have come out so much in this election. And also, to also tell you that the elderly ones also...
Interesting, because these are some of the issues that INEC has agreed to address with regards to ensuring that there is an all-inclusive process. And when they did a breakdown of a gender analysis of voters as well as candidates. But then we'll have to move over quickly now to our guest in the studio, who is a political economist, talking about Dr. Aliyu Elias. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, the governorship candidates across the board, the major contenders in these three states, have been unanimous with regards to their view of the performance of INEC. But from what you have observed, did INEC live up to its bidding of ensuring that there is a seamless process and also to ensure that it restores confidence in the commission?
Right. If you watch, if you see, most of the candidates are actually coming out and say they commend INEC for their good work. But I think for me also, I like to commend INEC as well, because if you look at the general election, what actually came after the election, perhaps this is an off-cycle election, so it's not a general election. So we expect them to put in all their effort to make sure that we have a good outcome. Perhaps you are also saying that they have pushed some rec into some constituency that we even have three, and you usually have one for a state, but at this point in time we have three, about nine for a state, and that is three for our constituency. So looking at that, we expect them to come out to perform very well, and we must also go beyond even INEC. I think we should commend all the stakeholders as well, because we have seen the Nigerian police, we have seen what they have tried to, not only Nigerian police, the security apparatus, they have also came out en masse to make sure that we have a free, fair, and credible election. But to be credible, maybe after the election, that's when we'll have that summation. But for now, we are having free, fair election as it is going. We have not seen a major issue, except we have seen Timothy Silva, who has just came out and said maybe particular local government, he noticed something. But, you know, cumulatively, we have to wait, and that's when we can have that total judgment about that. But for me, I think I like to commend INEC because they put all what they need to put in to make sure that we are having good election. And also, perhaps it's like they want to redeem what Nigeria has been.
Their image.
Their image, because most Nigerians are thinking after the last general election, perhaps it could be overwhelming. This is off-cycle election. We expect them to do better as expected.
Interesting. It seems we have Demola on the line now for him to finish up what he was talking about, because we saw a video coming out of Kogi State where we saw a number of women dancing just now. Right. And he mentioned that a major chunk of the electorates that came out to vote where he monitored were women.
But it is expected. If you look at it generally, women comes out for Ilya, and it's only painful that if you look at the statistics, most of them are not coming out for elective position, because you see that maybe one in Kogi, one in Imo, and all those. So we need more push, perhaps with what government is trying to do, bringing women up. We want our mothers to also participate in the not only voting, but also be voted for.
Absolutely. Demola, let me come back to you now quickly. We just saw a video where you are, where women were dancing. What's the story?
Okay, so I think that some of them have been able to finish casting their votes, so they are probably just happy about that. And they are very, very happy about the fact that they can cast their votes. You know, as I told you earlier, women, from what I've noticed about this election, in terms of gender
spread,
who have been gender sensibility, I think the women have been the ones who have been on the forefront. The women, then followed by the elderly ones, then followed by the youth. I've not seen more of the middle-aged men in terms of talking about maybe from like 50 upwards, you know. But I must tell you that women have been the one that I've noticed going to the different polling units that I've been to.
All right. Demola, we'll definitely come back to you to get more updates as you move around the state to bring us up to speed with developments with regards to this off-cycle election. Let's now get to the details of coming out of from some of this, the states that we have been monitoring. One thing that INEC talked about was that it will ensure that this process is hitch-free. And so even when it comes to the use of beavers, IREV, which was one of the major controversy, they have ensured that every hitch that was said to have been the issue at the general election was addressed. But we still saw a few hitch here and there where some persons were reported to have said that the beavers could not identify their fingerprints and perhaps capture them, so to speak. This matter of the use of technology, are we really getting to adjust to this process, or we are still trying to get a hang of it all?
I think we just have to continue using technology because it has actually come, and that's why we are scoring even INEC, because over time they have come up with different technology that is helping us. But for beavers, we have monitored many elections, and during that election, you see that 1-2 persons may find it difficult to actually, in fact, they have to be cleaning their thumb exactly and doing those things. But you cannot take that away because it depends on the capturing itself. Perhaps it could also, we must also see it from the other side. It could be the person itself, because anything can happen. So if technology now prove you that you are not, because they will not only stop, because I recall whenever we monitor elections, you see that they say stay one side, after some time come and try again. Yeah. So by the time they try about 3 times and it does not capture you, I think if we have 1,000 people in a polling unit and it's like 1 or 2, I think that's just acceptable to an extent. We won't say we should deny anybody voting, but this is technology. Sometimes it's recognize what actually it's inputted. So sometimes we have to also give that a chance. But over time also, we expect them to do more. But I think we just have to score that over 90%, because we look at the numbers of people that are voting and look at the number of people that could not get accredited. You see that it largely it has actually done the expected job that it's supposed to do. That's for beavers.
Right. Now, we've seen reports, for instance, in Kogi State, Okehi, Okene, and Adabi local government, where one of the governorship candidates had alleged that there were missing result sheets. And then INEC came out to say that those sheets were seen to have been filled. And you know how it is with regards to election, it has to be lifted and shown that there is nothing on the sheet. before they begin to impute the numbers. But then we have recorded an incident already now. I am wondering what you make of this development, seeing that these are critical issues that matter in a democratic process like this.
It's quite critical. However, it's gladdening that we see INEC came out to really make some notes about it. But you know, if you look at how it is being organized, at every polling unit, every political party have their representation. And when we talk about representation, it's not one person, it's not two person. More so, we always have about 17 political parties. So if they actually monitor as expected, I think that will be pretty difficult. However, I think it's an ongoing concern. So I expect INEC to come out to really say something about it beyond what they have just said. And those who also allege should come prove beyond the, reasonable doubt. So we have to balance the two now, because, this person that alleging, if you notice, it may not have strength in Kogi Central, perhaps it's from another, that's another thing. So it is, for politicians, everyone will have to look at the other side and try to see how they can really get information to really discredit the other side. And that's why we have an umpire. That umpire should come on board and say, no, this is the true fact of it. And if you look at how it is being organized, it's not only one person, two person in a ward or in a polling unit. It's pretty difficult sometimes to carry out such a thing.
Well, INEC has said that they will investigate the matter, and so we'll be looking forward to hearing from them. Right now, we need to quickly cross over to our correspondent in Bayelsa State, talking about Uche Okoro, who will be bringing us up to speed with developments from where he is. Uche, what is going on where you are right now?
Right now, I am in OD community, also in Kolokoma, Opokoma local government area of the state. I can tell you that right here in OD community, voting and accreditation and voting started early from the reports I got from voters on the ground, from persons who I met for the queue and persons who have cast their vote. The personnel also got here very early. So far, the process has reached an advanced stage in many parts of OD community here. It's a very peaceful exercise here in OD community. We haven't gotten any reports of attacks or violence here in this location. Behind me, along this very long stretch of road behind me, one of the major roads here in OD community, there are more than 10 polling units behind me. On my left and my right, there are more than 10 polling units behind me. As well, also if you also check, look ahead of me, what I can see in front of me, you would also see that there are quite a number of polling units here as well. You look ahead of me, you see a number of polling units. More than 6 polling units are also ahead of me, as well as about more than 10 polling units behind me. So that's the situation in OD community here. So far, so good. Materials arrived early, and voting, simultaneous accreditation and voting has reached an advanced stage here.
Talk to us about the turnout of voters for this exercise. I can see a number of persons just going about their businesses right behind you there. What's the level of turnout of voters?
I mentioned earlier that Kolokoma Opokoma has the least amount of registered voters in Bayelsa State, about just a little over 65,000 registered voters in the entire local government. So far, there hasn't been any apathy. From at least I can speak authoritatively for the polling units that I have visited, and the communities that I have visited, and communities I have driven through from the governor's local community down to this particular community. I can't say that there has been apathy. I would say that there's been reasonable turnout of voters here in Kolokoma Opokoma. Maybe because one of the major candidates in this election hails from this local government. Maybe that has played some role in the enthusiasm that the people have shown to come out to cast their votes today. So far, so good. Everywhere is peaceful. The sun has been really intense, but people seem not to be bothered. They are here on the queue, getting themselves accredited and casting their ballots.
Indeed, elections are local, and so, as it is often said, so one would expect that perhaps because one of the major contenders is from that region, they would want to show their support. But perhaps let's also look at the matter of vote buying. We saw in Kogi State where we are getting reports that there was some level of vote buying. I wonder if you witnessed or heard anything like that.
In OD community, well, these things happen. You hear a lot of these things. I've gotten those reports, but confirmation is one thing. Most times it's near important. If you're not being paid for a vote, most times it may be difficult to confirm. But I've heard persons who have said yes. I've heard figures flying around, a certain number of thousands per vote. I've heard those complaints. But as I speak to you, those are just complaints. But we also have personnel of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission who are on ground here in OD. I met officials of the EFCC, or rather, they met me here. They met me at the polling unit where I was monitoring in OD here. About 4 personnel of the EFCC adorning the popular red and white jackets, and about 4 police officers attached to them. They arrived the polling unit where I was monitoring to check for what you have just pointed out, vote buying. While we had one of the officials right in the polling unit where voting was taking place, the other 2 or 3 officials were in the background. They were moving around, going into the streets, going to the back of buildings, going under trees, and into town halls to try and see for themselves if indeed vote buying was ongoing. But I think they did not see any such activity in the area where the polling unit where they met me, so they moved along. So the issue of vote buying is a very serious one, and the EFCC appears not to be taking any chances, or they seem to be alert about those activities, and they are on ground monitoring the situation in the state, from what I've seen.
Now, speaking about security, what was the level of engagement of the police with the electorate? What did you see with regards to how they were monitoring the exercise?
So far, there seems to be some level of cooperation or synergy between the people and the security agencies. There's been no incident. There's been no incident, truly. If you take a look, you can just see that police van. I just step away from the camera. You can see that police van going there. You can see it's just moving freely. So yeah, we can say that the police have been able to get the cooperation. The security agencies have been able to get the cooperation of the people so far. The military personnel have been coming and going in and out of this road. I've been seeing them moving freely. You can also see some policemen as well providing security for that polling unit just by my far right. So security personnel, I think, so far they've been able to get the people on their side, and to be able to work with them. Many of the disturbances that have happened at polling units that I've visited have merely been about whose turn is it, right? We've not had any incident so far that I can report. I've not seen to report any incidents of ballot snatching or any of that. The only disturbances that I have experienced or witnessed at the polling units, simply it's about whose turn is it. I arrived at the polling unit first. I've been on the queue first. This person just arrived, and so on and so forth. And those the party agents and the presiding and assistant presiding officers have been able to bring all of those under control.
Now, when we spoke to Sarah earlier, she told us about some persons who had voted but were waiting for the end of the exercise. They wanted to see and ensure that their votes count. Is that the same thing where you are?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I just had to draw the attention of my camera person to, and I pointed out to him that check out those very elderly women, really elderly women. I think the youngest, rather, let me use that word. The youngest any of those old women would be by my calculation. So it'd be anything less than 70 upwards. And many of them are still there, waiting to cast their votes. In the governor's community, Bomo community, we had a number of elderly persons who tried to get accredited. So they tried to get accredited. There were some delays. They eventually did. They cast their votes and they didn't leave immediately. So I answered your question from that perspective to point to you a picture that people are really eager to see the outcome. So yes, persons are waiting to see results, votes sorted, counted, and uploaded to IRF. Persons are here. They are waiting. Voting is still ongoing. Some have voted, some have left, but we still have a wide range of age difference in the demographic of voters still waiting to see this process until the results are uploaded to IRF here in OD community. Kolokoma, Opokoma, Bayelsa State.
And now, still talking about demography, you talked about the elderly who are there. How about the young, between the ages of 18, which is the constitutional age, to about perhaps 30, 40? Can you tell us perhaps if they made a showing where you are?
Yeah, they did. The number of young, it's been, back in the days when we cover election, it is more common to find more of men or more of women or more of the young or more of the middle age, right? But in this case, it's been pretty balanced. There's been really young persons that I have to really look at their faces very well to be sure. And I ask myself, are you sure these ones are up to 18? But of course, they should be up to 18, right? Because nobody else is protesting. Nobody else is raising alarm. So, yeah, so I'm sure they are up to 18. So if we have people as young as that, and people as old as 70 upwards, who their children or other relatives are assisting into the polling units to cast their votes, it paints you a very balanced picture. So this time around, I can say that it's not been one-sided. The turnout in terms of gender distribution hasn't been lopsided. It's been pretty balanced. We've had the young, we've had the middle-aged, we've had the elderly, we've had the women, we've had the men. Everybody is out to cast their votes in Yenegua. But of course, I don't know if this, like I said, I don't know if this turnout is simply because the governor is from Kolokoma Opokoma, really tongue-twisting local government. Yeah.
Indeed, tongue-twisting. Now, quickly, INEC promised to ensure that it had an all-inclusive process, especially for persons with disabilities. What did you observe at OD, the polling unit where you are?
I haven't seen any person with disability. I haven't seen any blind person. I haven't seen any anybody who is visually impaired or anybody who I haven't seen them yet. Maybe enough sensitization was not made on this because the commission was saying specifically that they want to get these persons on board. They want to encourage participation of this minority group of voters. But I don't see that. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen persons with disabilities and coming out to cast their votes. Perhaps they thought it was going to be business as usual. They would come and there's really no special arrangement for them. There's no plan for them. So maybe that's why they are not coming out. Maybe the commission did not do enough to inform them of its plan for them and reassure them that those plans will see the light of day. So I can't say that participation of that community has been encouraged. But you know that according to the commission, 880 persons with disabilities are registered to vote in Bayelsa State. Of that number, majority of the disability variation, 30 of them are visually impaired. But I haven't seen them here casting their votes in Bayelsa so far.
All right, Uche, we'll definitely get back to you for developments out of OD, and then we'll know what is coming out of there, perhaps as we get along. But let's